Today we're going to be doing properties of operations.
So let's look at the commutative property. Now the commutative property is where you switch. So if you have a number plus another number, so A plus B, then the commutative property would basically flip the two. So instead of A plus B, it's the same thing as B plus A. So you kind of just move them around. So the order that the numbers are added or multiplied does not change the sum or product. So you have the commutative property of addition and you have the commutative property of multiplication. So here you have A plus B equals B plus A, or for example, 5 plus 3 equals 3 plus 5, and then you can solve that by 8 equals 8. Let's look at the multiplication. So A times B is the same thing as B times A. So 5 times 3 with commutative property states that it will equal 3 times 5. And that's 5 times 3 is 15, and 3 times 5 is 15. Let's go on to the next property. Our next property is the associative property. Okay, the way in which the numbers are grouped when they are added or multiplied does not change the product. So in this example, you can see that the grouping has changed here. Okay, it does not change the answer if you're multiplying or adding. So this is the associative property of addition. This is the associative property of multiplication. So A plus B plus C, you have the parentheses around B plus C. It's the same thing if you put the parentheses around A plus B. Okay. So let's look at this. So if we do 2 plus, and then the quantity 3 plus 8, and then you have the quantity 2 plus 3 plus 8. So 3 plus 8 is 11 plus 2. And 2 plus 11 is 13. Let's look at this one. So here we do the 2 plus 3 first, which is 5, plus the 8. And the 5 plus 8 is 13. So this property just means that when you add, when it's all addition, then the property or the sum will stay the same, no matter if you which numbers you add or multiply first, depending on what you're doing. So here's the multiplication one. So it's saying that I need to multiply the 3 times the 8. So 3 times 8 is 24, and then I multiply the 2. And 2 times 24 is 48. Here, I still have it. It's in the same order, right? So I have 2 times 3, which is 6, and then I have times 8. And 6 times 8 is 48, and they equal. Let's go to the next page. Here are some other properties. You have additive identity, and that just means when you are adding with 0. You have multiplicative identity, which means if you multiply anything by 1, you'll get the same answer. So 9 times 1 equals 9. Then you have the multiplicative property of 0, and so anything you multiply by 0 will get you 0. And that is it.
All right, here's our first example. We need to choose the property that is shown by the statement. So we need to look in here and see what property it is. I see that it says 2 times 5 times n and 2 times 5 times n. So the grouping is different. So because the grouping is different, that means that it is the associative property of multiplication. Looking at this one, I can see that the x and the y have switched. Therefore, it's the commutative property of addition. For number 3, I see that's 3x plus 0, and that gives me the same number, which is 3x, so it's identical. So this is the additive identity. Okay, let's look closely at this one. You might think that it is associative, but as you can see, this 3 times m is the same. The grouping's still the same. What we did was we switched the grouping and the times 2. So we switched and put the times 2 at the beginning and the 3 times m at the end. So this would be the commutative property of multiplication. So you might be asking yourself, does it work with subtraction or division? Well, let's look at a counter example. And then that means that it's an example that is a conjecture or a statement that's false. and a property would not apply. So looking at this one, what is 15 divided by 3? Well, that's 5. But 3 divided by 15, well, that is 3/15, which equals 1/5. And those do not equal, so this is false. Let's look at the subtraction. So looking at the subtraction, I see that 12, is this the same or not? So 12 minus 5 is 7, and then I'm going to take away 3, so that would be 4. Does 4 equal this? So I'm going to do my parentheses first, so this would be 2, and so I'd have 12 minus 2, and that's 10. These do not equal. So what does this mean? That means that subtraction and division do not work with these properties, only addition and multiplication. All right, this is our last example. We need to explain how we simplify using the properties. So we are given the quantity 7 plus g plus 5. That is our problem, so we don't need to write anything down. So what happens from this step to this step? Well, the 7 and the g got switched. So that means that it is the commutative property of addition. The second one, I see that my grouping has changed. So I see that this grouping changed and went around the 7 and the 5. So because it's a grouping, we think associative property, and then we are talking about addition. Last, I see that we just added 7 plus 5, and it got us 12. So that is just to simplify. And we are done. Good luck.